are going to be starting a project today based on one of my favorite artists. Her name is Faith Ringgold, and she is an American painter and sculptor and mixed media artist, and she does all sorts of things. And some of the things that she's most famous for are her story quilts. A quilt is a fabric, and she painted and sewed on these giant quilts, and she would tell stories on them. And the one that we're gonna learn about today is called Tar Beach. And this tells the story about Cassie Louise Lightfoot, a little girl growing up in Harlem in New York City. And it tells a story about how she would go to the top of her building with her parents and what she would think about. We're gonna read this book together, and then we're going to be creating an artwork that you are inspired by Cassie Louise Lightfoot's imagination, and you can use your imagination to think about where you would fly if you could fly anywhere. Let's get started.
My name is Faith Ringgold, and I wrote Tar Beach, the book, in 1990. I will always remember when the stars fell down around me and lifted me up above the George Washington Bridge. I could see our tiny rooftop with Mommy and Daddy and Mr. and Mrs. Honey, our next-door neighbors, still playing cards as if nothing was going on. And BB, my baby brother, lying real still on the mattress, just like I told him to. His eyes like huge floodlights tracking me through the sky. Sleeping on Tar Beach was magical. Lying on the roof in the night with the stars and skyscraper buildings all around me made me feel rich, like I owned all that I could see. The bridge was my most prized possession. Daddy said that the George Washington Bridge is the longest and most beautiful bridge in the world, and that it opened in 1931 on the very day I was born. Daddy worked on that bridge, hoisting cables. Since then, I've wanted that bridge to be mine. Now I have claimed it. All I had to do was fly over it for it to be mine forever. I can wear it like a giant diamond necklace. Or just fly above it and marvel at its sparkling beauty. I can fly. Yes, fly. Me, Cassie Louise Lightfoot, only 8 years old and in the 3rd grade, and I can fly. That means I am free to go wherever I want for the rest of my life. Daddy took me to see the new Union building he is working on. He can walk on steel girders high up in the sky and not fall. They call him the cat. But still, he can't join the union because Grandpa wasn't a member. Well, Daddy is going to own that building because I'm going to fly over it and give it to him. Then it won't matter that he's not in their old union or whether he's colored or a half-breed Indian like they say. He'll be rich and won't have to stand on 24-story high girders and look down. He can look at his building going up. And Mommy won't cry all winter when he goes to look for work and doesn't come home. And Mommy can laugh and sleep late like Mrs. Honey. And we can have ice cream every night for dessert. Next, I'm going to fly over the ice cream factory, just to make sure we do. Tonight, we're going up to Tar Beach. Mommy is roasting peanuts and frying chicken. And Daddy will bring home a watermelon. Mr. and Mrs. Honey will bring the beer and their old green card table. And then the stars will fall around me and I will fly to the Union Building. I'll take BB with me. He has threatened to tell Mommy and Daddy if I leave him behind. I have told him it's very easy. Anyone can fly. All you need is somewhere to go that you can't get to any other way. The next thing you know, you're flying among the stars.
That's a pretty great book, isn't it? Based on Faith Ringgold's story quilt, Tar Beach. Here we see the picture of Cassie flying over the bridge, the George Washington Bridge, which I used to drive over every day on my way to work when I would drive into New York from New Jersey. It was as beautiful as it looks in the book. So something we're gonna do to start is we're gonna think about where you guys would fly over if you could fly anywhere. Then we're gonna talk how you can make yourself look like you're flying, the way Cassie looks like she's flying. So I have on my paper over here, and this is what you're gonna start with, a practice paper, and you can write down, if I could, I would fly, and then you wanna think about where. And wherever you're gonna fly, it's gonna be probably to somewhere, or under, or over, or across. If I could fly, I would fly to my grandma's house, under the big bridge, over the Atlantic Ocean, across the United States. And it could go on and on and on. You could think about all the different places that you would fly to if you could. After you come up with your place that you want to fly, on your practice paper, I want you to practice drawing yourself flying. Now, to make yourself flying, you might start with a circle for your head. And then if you're flying, your body is going to be going horizontal across the way Cassie's is. When we stand up, our body's vertical, but here it's horizontal. So we might start by making a horizontal line. That's gonna be our body. And then we wanna think about our legs. You've got your two legs and they're sort of coming out straight in the back. So we can start by just using lines to show these are two legs. And our arms, if we want to make them like Cassie's, they're coming in front of our body, pointing out forward, like the way Superman's arms go when he flies. So I might go back over here, and I'm going to make one arm that goes over my head and one arm that goes under, like Cassie's. I'm going to make my legs spread out a little bit more here. Now I can go in, and I'm going to sort of thicken myself up a little bit because I'm not a stick. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna just sort of fatten this out. My pencil's not so hot here. Make a shirt, make my thicker arms, make some thicker legs over here, and put some hair back there. And that's sort of a good way to start a person flying. So I have an idea of how I might want to make myself flying. I can always put some better clothes on here. My table's a little bumpy from different supplies that have been down here. I might want to make my everything just sort of thicken up out here. Put some shoes on myself. Okay, and then once I don't know what is going on under here. I'm in the middle of two tables. All right, not my best plan, but that's okay. So I've got an idea now. If I could, I would fly. My favorite place in the world would be over actually not because I have a special place, which is Jones Beach. Because I love the beach, and I grew up in New York, not far from where Cassie Louise Lightfoot grew up, and I would fly over Jones Beach, which is by the Atlantic Ocean in New York. So that's what I'm going to make. This is my planning page. So I planned where I would fly. I practiced how I would draw myself. After you're done with this part, you guys can work on a square piece of paper. In school here, we're gonna be using these papers. They are 12 inches by 12 inches. If you don't have one that big at home, that's okay. You guys can work smaller. And we're gonna use this rectangular strip. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a border, because as you can see in Tar Beach, let's see, do I have a big page of Tar Beach here? Well, you can kind of see on the front here, along the borders of the quilt are little squares of fabric with different designs and colors. So I'm going to trace along here, and I'm going to make the border. And on that border, I will be putting pieces of paper to decorate it. So I'm gonna do my border, and now I'm all set to write down at the bottom here. If I could, I would fly over in my place, and I'm gonna draw myself, and I'm gonna draw where I'm gonna be flying over. When I'm all done with that, I'm going to use strips of colored papers, and I'm going to decorate along on the outside of my edge here to make it look like a quilt. Before I glue those down though, I am going to color this area with crayon so that when I'm all done, I don't have any of the white paper showing through. When you're all done with this, I want your whole paper filled in with your drawing and crayon or markers or colored pencils. You can use whatever material you would like. You can do mixed media the way Faith Ringgold did. Mixed media means we use lots of different materials. So have some fun, use different materials. Think of a fun place that you would fly over. And those of you at home, send me a picture.